Hello and welcome to another episode of the Awaken Heartist podcast. This episode, we're going to do a little rewind. I'm going to give you a little bit of a history on your boy here. Not a very glorious part of my life, but a time period of my life that was pretty dark. Pretty much most of my 20s. I have a blog of my childhood on the website, awakenheartist.com. If you go on there, you can check that out and get a little bit of a background, but I kind of want to start at, the point of me getting out of high school and my dad kicking me out. I lived with my aunt and uncle. After that, I ended up getting my own place. Eventually, after a couple of years, going back to kind of living with my dad for a little bit and living on my own in this time period that I kind of want to talk about here. This podcast is titled One Bad Decision from Prison because this time period of, 2021 to, my late 20s, a lot of it was a big blackout. I don't even know. I barely know that person anymore, in a sense. I'm not going to touch on any stories. I'm not going to get into any of the things that happened specifically. I'm not going to talk about the people involved. They know who they are. And we shared those memories together. I want to talk about just the overall. It was a result of all these fucked up things that happened in my childhood. I was this guy that loved to party. I just loved to do anything I could to be out of control. Literally out of control. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I lived that fucking life for sure for quite a while. I experimented with all kinds of drugs. The only two drugs that I've never done, there's more than just the two, but the two main, I've never smoked crack and I've never did heroin. There's probably a couple situations that if they were available, I probably would have if they were around, but I was a fucking mess. But luckily, and that's where I say I've really had so much luck in this time period. Because I literally was one bad decision from going to prison. I can think in so many situations where I was just not of the mind state, going into a night to get blacked out drunk and act a fucking fool, just to get a couple laughs or to pick up a chick, whatever it was. For a while there was like, damn, I'm so embarrassed by that guy or disgusted by that guy and all these different things. But I now have a better idea on who that guy was and why he was, because I know the picture. I know the bigger picture now. I can see back where that guy was blinded and he was only acting within the feelings within the moment. Having been told who to be and trying to be that person and not being comfortable within his own skin because he is not who he feels at heart. It's hard for me to explain. As you listen to the podcast, there's going to be a lot of little stories here and there that, I basically had this tough guy mentality. And my aunt always said it really well. Johnny likes to show everybody that he has this super tough exterior, but inside he's just a big marshmallow. And when she said that, I was kind of pissed. Like, don't tell people that. I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to be a tough guy, And the marshmallow inside thing, I was not trying to show that side of me by any means, because I thought it was a weakness. My toughness was through the things I'd been through. I was tough, and I definitely had, if it came to defending my family or anything, I would fight anybody. stick up for my family and friends. I was down to fight anybody for sure in those scenarios. I was really putting this tough exterior out because I just wanted to push people away. I just wasn't myself. And when you mix a lot of drugs and alcohol with all of the confusion of not knowing who you are, things get real fucking crazy. And if any of you right now are going through this, and you can relate to it, then just know that you can figure it out. I have. Here's my motivational speech part. I figured it out. You can figure it out. It takes time, obviously. That's not what this is about. This is really just about how big of a fuck up I was and how lucky I was and all the things that I got away with. I have so much gratitude now because I was such a dipshit in so many ways. And I guess I shouldn't be do the name calling thing here because, again, like, I do understand the person I was, but it's kind of hard to look back and be like, damn, that was pretty fucking stupid. And I'm laughing about it now. But some of the stupid shit that I did, it really impacted people and hurt people. And I'm definitely very apologetic about that part. I'm definitely sincere in the fact that I hurt people. I made bad decisions. I said things and acted only upon my own emotions and things that were beneficial to me. I had lived a life prior to that, and this is an excuse. I'm just stating the circumstances, but I had lived a life that I felt like I constantly was always doing for others and having to do for my family. And I felt when I got in my 20s that I want to live my life the way that I want to do things. And I think most of us do this in our 20s, but I was just really out of control with it. And I shit on people. Like, I literally did things that hurt people and didn't watch what I was doing and really, and honestly, like the empathetic part of me knew I was hurting people, but I would like tell myself in some scenarios, well, mostly it was always drunk. I would just tell myself, hey, well, it feels good to you. Why can't you do things that feel good? The things that wouldn't hurt people that felt good to me, I just hadn't discovered yet because I hadn't figured them out about myself. So I was constantly doing things that were really out of my own character, and it was affecting everybody around me. And yeah, as time went on, I mean, I loved to do cocaine. There was a time period where I loved to do acid, doing LSD, and we were dropping liquid acid, and I never really fucked with mushrooms much. I had a really fucking tough experience on mushrooms. I will kind of talk about this a little bit because it is kind of funny. In a sense, I almost lost my mind that day. I mean, literally, it was really tough trying to climb out of that hole that I was in. This trip was so intense. I planned a class trip somehow in this class of fuck-ups that I was in my high school. I was in a vocational school, and in this class, we were kind of like the misfits that were put in this one class, and I ended up being like the student council representative for the class, and there was like 15 of us in this class. So I was able to, in a student council meeting, put together a class trip. The other student council members were doing this and organizing a class trip. So I decided to do one, and I wanted to do it this place downtown here in Toledo. It's a science type of place. It was called COSI at the time. I thought it would be perfect that we could do this trip and that we would get a bunch of drugs, do them in this place, and that's sure as hell what we did. And I had a super bad trip. I ate a bunch of mushrooms, and it was the first time of me ever eating mushrooms. I had ate some. They didn't kick in right away, so I thought, oh, give me some more. I'm not feeling anything off of these. And so I took way more than most everybody else in that situation, and I was losing it. I mean, it was like being in a different dimension in that place. And luckily for my friends, they had helped me kind of climb out of this hole that I was in. It was bad, the point where I thought that I was going to have to kill myself, and because I was never going to get out of the state of mind, and my dad was going to put me in a mental institution, because I just, in that moment, I didn't realize I was seeing things, seeing a different reality, and it was so frightening to me at the time that I just thought I was never going to be able to leave it to get back to the reality where my family was and everybody else was. So that really fucked me up, and so the psychedelic thing didn't last for that long. I did love the acid thing, though. That was fun for quite a while. And then I think what ended up happening with that is I ended up really, it started showing me all these things I needed to fix, that I needed to see. It's like a dream, like your dreams. It's kind of what I look at my dreams as, is like they're hints and clues from my subconscious or my higher self trying to tell me, hey, these are the things you need to be working on. And it's kind of a fucked up way of doing it to really get your attention. And at first it was fun and games. I was listening to music and hearing all of this shit differently, and hearing music differently and seeing things differently, and the lights and the colors and everything, and just geometrically seeing things differently in the world. And it was just beautiful. And then some of the trips started turning into this inward journey thing, and I wasn't ready for that. And that's when I stopped doing those altogether, because I was starting to have bad trips, because I was really climbing into breaking myself down. And when you're like 22 years old, I wasn't ready for that. I think I was around that age, but roughly. But the cocaine thing was always a big thing. That was always fun, because I've never been big on doing any kind of speed. And I can't even drink caffeine. I can drink like a half a Pepsi or a little bit of green tea, and I am a jittery mess. I am all over the place. I'm wired. I am super sensitive to pretty much every kind of substance, with the exception of alcohol, for the most part. Alcohol levels me out. That's why I've always loved it. The cocaine thing, though, has always been, it was a way for me to continue to drink more alcohol. I've maybe done it one time, I think. I know I've done it one time, but there may be another time or two where I've done it where I've not drank first. And I do not like that feeling at all. I get super jittery and uncomfortable, and it makes me want to drink to slow that down and kind of come to a place. But like for me, the drinking thing, I think it's because I have so much abundance of energy, and I've kind of was talking about this in therapy today, and another reason why I wanted to do this episode is I have this abundance of energy sometimes, and when things are going really good for me, and I'm talking about now, and with my drinking now at the moment, when things are going really good for me, I start to get like this excitement, and the energy starts to build up. And one thing I don't do is exercise, so I don't have a release, and a lot of times throughout my life, the alcohol has been a way to kind of relax me and calm me down. It's a way to release that testosterone that kind of builds up, and this energy that I have, it chills me out and gets me into that relaxed, calm place that I have a very difficult time getting to in my normal everyday life. It's a work in progress. It's something that I've gotten better at. I only drink once a week now. I literally don't have any alcohol throughout the entire week, with the exceptions of holidays and things like that. But I reserve one day now for me to do my partying, and I most of the time I overdo it when it comes to that day. I end up being terribly hungover, and I'm too old for that shit anymore. And I still, because I really like that release for myself at the end of the week, I'm still trying to figure out how to balance that out. So I'm not perfect still, but I used to be a big mess where I was doing like blackout drunk. I don't get blacked out anymore, but like I used to get blacked out drunk at least 3 times a week. We had different weekdays and I'd get up and go to work drunk and sober up in the first couple hours, and then do it again that night. And it just was all really bad. But I just want to say, in this, that I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the luck that I've had through all of it. And if you are in a situation where I've gotten so lucky with God, I don't even want to, I'm just embarrassed by it to a degree. The drinking and driving thing was so fucking stupid for so long. I didn't do it a lot, but there were circumstances where I did, and I never should have. And I'm so embarrassed by that part because I could have terribly hurt somebody. And if you're in that situation, take yourself the fuck out of it, because I got lucky and I got in trouble. I've been arrested a couple times. I've been to jail 3 times in my life and had a felony hanging over my head at one point in time. And I don't know if I'll talk about that at some point in time, maybe not. But either way out, I have made some pretty stupid decisions that I look at now as they're kind of motivations for me not to be too stupid shit anymore, obviously. But they're like, damn, that's the place I was at before. And I'm here now, and I'm very grateful for being able to get to this point and being able to live a healthy life with my kids and look back on all that shit. And some of the memories, there's some great memories. Don't get me wrong. Like I had some really good times, some really fun times with my friends. A lot of laughs. A lot of the laughs are based upon me doing stupid shit too. A lot of them. Me just doing ridiculously dumb shit that probably all of you women listeners out there don't think is funny. But my guys, the guys out there are probably like, that's, if you heard some of these stories, you probably think they're pretty funny. But now that I've grown up, it is what it is. And now that I'm doing the adulting, and yeah, I don't know. I'm grateful for it. And I hope that if you are in the middle of maybe this kind of transition out of that life, or you're in the middle of it, just don't fucking drink and drive. And watch the drugs you're doing nowadays, because it's not the same. If that's the case, if you aren't doing them, fucking watch what you're doing, for crying out loud. It's terrible what's happening with all of that. It's not the way that it used to. And I'm not advocating go out and fucking do drugs, but who the fuck am I? You do whatever you do. And just be smart about it so you don't have regrets later on. And realize that you're probably in the same situation that I was in. And there's a lot of luck involved in what you're doing. And pay attention to that. How lucky you truly are if you are right now getting away with shit. That luck fucking runs out. It always runs out. And me going to jail the last time I did was my big wake-up call. And you don't want to face that. So if you are going through that, I hope you figure out a way out, or a transition, easy transition out of it. Well, none of it's easy, but if you're kind of stuck in that situation, hopefully you can kind of find a transition out of it the way that I did, where I just toned my drinking and reserved it to being at home and not driving and trying to have fun with that situation. I don't go to bars anymore. Those crowds fucking freak me out anymore anyways. I mean, I go out to like clubs, not clubs. Jesus Christ, I don't go to nightclubs. What am I, fucking 20 years old here? I go I do go to bars like downtown area, but I'm out of there by like 10 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock, go down and have some drinks during the daytime. But if if you are going through this transition, good for you. Just realize that, that luck runs out. And for those of you that lived the same life that I did and are out of it, or in the same place as I am now, or whatever, kudos to you. I'm sure that you can relate to my story quite a bit as far as that goes. But I appreciate you listening to another episode here of my fucking ranting. Please ask questions through Instagram or Facebook. I don't know what the fuck just happened there, but I appreciate you interacting again and asking questions. More of my story of this time period, I'm sure, will kind of trickle out, but I'm not going to talk about specific people or situations that involve specific people. It's just going to be a general talking points of this time period. So all of my friends out there, don't worry, I'm not going to out you. I love you all. Thank you. If you'd like to learn more about me and my experiences, follow @AwakenHeartist on Instagram or visit the website awakenheartist.com.